just saw the latest installment of Tom Cruise's ATM machine, Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. This review is going to wander a little bit, partially because I've been thinking about a number of things in relation to Tom Cruise the past couple of days, having binged-watched the Mission Impossible movies before seeing the new one. But mainly because I neglected to write down any notes until about 24 hours after seeing Rogue Nation, and as a result, don't have much to say about it. If you can imagine how it's possible that 24 hours is enough time to completely vaporize most thoughts about any piece of entertainment, then you're probably halfway to guessing my feelings about Rogue Nation. I've always been a bit of a Tom Cruise apologist. He's certainly a polarizing figure. Among my friends, people either love his movies or hate him. I think most people were on the what a weirdo train when he climbed on Oprah's couch, and a month later he appeared on Matt Lauer and scared the pants off everyone.
You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do.
My friends who liked his movies kind of backed out of the room slowly, and my friends who always hated him said, "See? I told you so." I was a little disappointed. I could care less about celebrity lives, and the movie he was promoting when he went all banana pants, War of the Worlds, was pretty good. I've never really had a problem drawing a line between art and the artist. Crimes and Misdemeanors is one of my favorite movies. Annie Hall was the blueprint for the modern romantic comedy, and yet Woody Allen married the adopted daughter of his girlfriend who was 35 years younger than him, which, while not a crime, seems pretty weird. Mad Max, Martin Riggs, and William Wallace aren't anti-Semitic alcoholics. Maybe some lines are fuzzy, though. Do we all hate Jell-O pudding on The Cosby Show now? I'm unclear where we stand on that. The Mission Impossible series really has no personality of its own, and so it tends to take on the style and characteristics of its director. There was the psychological thriller one, directed by Brian De Palma. There was the Why Is This Movie So Frickin' Tense one.
Where the hell is it? Stay with 7!
Directed by J.J. Abrams. There was the, this movie is surprisingly funny and charming one.
Blue is glue. And when it's red, dead.
Directed by Brad Bird. And there was the zoom heavy side slidey and shooting a gun in slow motion one directed by John Woo. But as long as you have a director with a strong vision, things seem to turn out okay. Mix in a memorable action sequence or two, and I found that 3 out of the 4 Mission Impossible movies have fallen on the entertaining side of the bell curve. Which is why it's puzzling that for Rogue Nation they went with Christopher McQuarrie as the director, a man with 2 previous directing credits to his name, the poorly received Jack Reacher, and a movie called The Way of the Gun that he directed 15 years ago. Rogue Nation is the most forgettable entry in the series. It isn't stupid enough to be bad, but it lacks nearly any redeeming quality to stick in the brain. The advertisements and media blitz are focusing heavy on the practical stunts. And yes, after a summer of CGI, it is incredibly refreshing to watch an action sequence and know that at least some percentage of what I'm looking at on screen wasn't generated by a computer. However, I didn't find any of the action sequences as memorable as the previous ones in the series, and regardless, at some point when the motorcycles stop and the planes land, the actors have to open their mouths. And without a capable conductor, it felt like all the instruments in the orchestra were out of sync, or even playing different music. The highlight of the movie was Simon Pegg. Pegg was simultaneously the most impassioned, dramatic, and hilarious actor in the movie. He was the only one that seemed genuinely excited to be on screen. The movie lacks a compelling villain as well. I guess he's mostly supposed to be scary because he's weird? While that might have made the drama more compelling, I'm not going to hold that against it. The only compelling villain in the series was Philip Seymour Hoffman in number 3, who was absolutely electric and made that my favorite entry.
I'm gonna find her. Whoever she is, I'm gonna find her and I'm gonna hurt her.
Another problem is that Tom Cruise really isn't that strong an actor. He's the definitive movie star. Other than a handful of standout performances, Tom Cruise usually plays the same character, his on-screen persona. He's just really good at picking roles that are written for that on-screen persona. I happen to like that on-screen persona, so I tend to enjoy the movies he's in, but it can't hold down a movie by itself. And because Ethan Hunt isn't really a character, occasionally the movie gets a bit weird. At one point, Alec Baldwin is trying to warn the Prime Minister about rogue agent Ethan Hunt, who is, as he says, and I'm not making this up, the living manifestation of destiny. Unsurprisingly, Hunt appears in the scene not long after that in what I guess was supposed to be a dramatic reveal. But since we, the audience, just see Ethan Hunt as Tom Cruise, and this flat movie was created by Cruise and people that he's worked with on previous films, the scene comes off as a massive ego suppository. My mind was suddenly filled with images from Going Clear, not heroism and bravery. Still, the main problem was probably me. There was absolutely zero need to binge watch the series before going and seeing this one. It's not as if there was some narrative thread going through the 5 movies I needed to familiarize myself with. And since they all do basically the same things over and over and over again, perhaps I had a little fatigue. There are some funny lines, things blow up at an adequate pace, and Simon Pegg is almost worth seeing the movie for on its own. But I'm personally going to give Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation a 2 out of 5.